English translation, 430th contact. Sunday, 30th of July, 2006. Irreposo 7 hours.
Oh, a stranger and a familiar visitor. I was expecting you, Pata, dear friend, in the evening, but I am happy that you have come here, and at the same time I am happy that you are still accompanied by a new visitor. My greetings to both of you for your welcoming. May I ask who is your companion, Pa? If I judge correctly, his appearance reminds me of the description you gave me on the 10th of July. But I will ask it myself, if I may, because I see that your companion is wearing a language translator, as I know it from your technology. So, then you understand me well, dear visitor. You are probably from Barden, if I am not mistaken.
Yes, I understand you, because as you can see, I carry a language translator on my breast pocket. My name is Sugam, and I am actually a Bardan. My job corresponds to that of a biologist and zoologist. Shwishta asked me if I would be interested in meeting you. As a matter of fact, I am, and that is why I came here with him. It is an honor to make your acquaintance. We at Bardan know your work and also many of your male and female associates. For this fact alone, I am especially pleased to be able to come and greet you.
I greet you too, dear friend. The reason why we are only coming now is that I was only able to pick up Shugam a short time ago, because he was still busy with an important work.
I am always curious. Shugam, may I ask what your name means? And is there a female form to it?
My name means, the honest man, and of course there is also a female form called Sugami, with a special emphasis on the A.
I see. I understand that your female names do not end with an A, as in the case of the Pleyaran, Lyrans and the other races descended from Henoch respectively, Enoch and Nocodemion. But do the female names all end with an I?
No, this is not the case, because as with the male names, the female names also end with different letters.
Interesting. Would it be impertinent and rude of me if I asked you to give me some names related to both genders?
I have to explain that Edward, together with Taljda from Nisan, she is also known to you, wrote a book of names which he is now continuing with the help of Florina. For this work, which contains about 10,000 female and male names of our populations, he probably wants to have the names from you.
Yes, that is the case. It does not have to be 1,000 names because a few will do.
I will gladly fulfill your wish, so I will give you some names that I can name from my memory right now. First I will tell you the masculine name and its meaning, then the corresponding feminine name and its meaning, which is only different in form regarding the feminine representation. So if you want to write down the names, the necessary utensils you have here, I see.
That is not necessary, because later Edward will retrieve and write down our conversation, which we are having now and which is being recorded by us.
Of course, that is what I was informed about. So unless I start by mentioning my name again and putting it first. I am familiar with those names right now. If you want more, I can try to find some more.
No, thanks, that will do. If I counted correctly, there are 50 names, half male, half female. Thank you very much. That really is enough.
It is an honor. If you will allow me, I have some strictly private questions I would like to ask you.
Of course, if Ta can be present.
Shugam and I have already agreed together that I will walk around the center a bit. But after your conversation, I have a lot to tell you.
Good, but be careful, because Karen is on night watch, and somehow she has lynx eyes and hearing like a deer. But what I want to say before you go outside, you and Florina have said that the Triliners will walk around our compound. They actually did, touching the cars of Ava and Bernadette, and leaving the traces of their acid hands or acid fingers on the hood, as they did with Atlantis's car. Bernadette actually believed that she could wash off the etched fingerprints, so she went to the car wash and scrubbed the hood, but it was of no use because the acid marks could not be removed.
Which is not surprising because the skin acid of the Triliner is quite corrosive.
I learned that from my own fingers when I was stupid enough to touch a Triliner's hand because I just wanted to know how the acid on their skin affected mine. Fortunately, I suffered no damage.
You should have just listened to my daughter Simya say and put on the gloves she gave you.
But that would not have had the proper effect.
Exactly, that was your problem. Your way of fathoming everything correctly. But now I leave you alone.
Okay, when we are done, we will come outside.
Then I will wait for you at the storage place in the front of the arbor. See you.
So, Sugam, I would like to hear your questions.
Thank you. It is about my...
This is my advice on the questions. If you have no more questions, then we can go to Ta together. But we have to go up on the hiking trail so that we do not run into Karin.
Your advice is a great help to me. Of course. I could have also asked Swish Ta for advice. But when he asked me if I wanted to visit you, I turned to him, since you are supposed to be a wise man, with a request to ask for your advice, which he accepted. You are indeed a very wise man. It would be a very great honor for me to welcome you privately to my family and myself as a guest.
It would be a very great honor for me as well. Ta, Florina, or Injana, or maybe Quetzal, etc. could take me there. I am sure you know them all?
I know Quetzal well as Injana and Florina and various others who are connected with you. It would be my pleasure if they could bring you to me. Unfortunately, I cannot pick you up myself, because I do not know how to use flying ships that can carry me through world space. It is only given to me to use our planetary flying ships.
Then I will ask friend Ptah. But I have one more question. Why do you call Ta and Quetzal Swish? Is it so common for you to address humans with their titles?
No, we think, like the Pleiaren, from whom we took this form some 25 years ago, that we give the Swish the dignity they deserve by prefixing their name with the title.
Is that the general view? Or is it to be likewise understood, as with the Pleiaren, that the title is only mentioned in a dignified and honorably based manner, and precedes the name if there is no direct friendship, etc.? Is it somewhat like here on the Earth, where we address people more formally when they are strangers, and not part of our close circle of friends or acquaintances?
That is the situation, yes.
May I ask, what is your life expectancy on Bardan? What is your age? And yes, I am sure you also have marriages or life alliances between men and women. How are these held?
Our life expectancy is calculated to be 211 years on average. Of course, I can also tell you my age. I will be 70 years old, calculated in terms of earthly time, in a few months. Of course, we also maintain life partnerships between the female and male gender, but not in monogamous, but in polygamous form. Swish Ta told me that monogamy prevails on the earth. My families include 2 wives, and together we have 1 child each.
So your families consist of you, 2 wives, and 2 children. It is interesting that you will be 70 years old in a few months, because I will be 70 in about 6 months. But your 70 years, are they a term for the same time as we have here on the Earth?
That is converted to the earthly conditions. Shuish Ta advised me to do this because you would certainly ask for it. And before you have to keep asking. Our inhabited planets, of which there are 3. As I am sure you know, orbit our central star at 3 different distances. The next, Bardan 1, in 99.6 million kilometers, my home world Bardan 2 in 145.2 million, and the outermost, Bardan 3, in 198.7 million kilometers orbiting our Sun. Such a constellation is extremely rare, especially in the relationship that these 3 worlds carry life forms of diverse genera and species, as well as us human life forms.
And what are the rotational times of the 3 planets?
Of course they are different, but the exact orbital period around our central star is only known to me from my home planet Bardan 2. Our planet orbits around the Sun in 359.4 days, and its own rotation in relation to day and night is 26.3 hours.
These are remarkable figures.
But which Shuish Ta told me to record in my memory, because you would ask for it.
Aha. Well, what form of government do you have?
We adopted the Pliran form of government 37 years ago, which is very good and has solved all our problems. This form exists over all 3 planets as a common central form of government.
So you also do not have wars and the like anymore, I suppose?
No, the feuds between the nations have been finally settled. But there is a common large and well-armed protective might on all 3 planets, which ensures that no more wars and terror can arise. This protective might is also responsible for any defense that may be necessary if intruders appear from outside. However, the peoples themselves no longer possess weapons of war. The protective might does not exercise any power with regard to governance, but keeps quietly in the background in order to intervene in case of possible emergencies, which, however, is practically no longer necessary at all. Consequently, the protective power serves only as a precautionary security and fulfills its purpose.
A multinational peacekeeping force, so to speak, that can intervene with logical Gewalt, beyond all might and violence. With all available forceful means, physical, psychical, mental, and to use consciousness-based powers, abilities, and skills in order to carry out and practice tremendous deeds and actions. Respectively, actions in logic and rationality, as the Nakademian Hainok-Enoch formula suggests.
I am familiar with the Pliran statements in this regard. Yes, it is this system that we have adopted on our worlds and whereby we have final peace among all people and peoples of all 3 planets.
It would be nice if this could happen on our Earth too. But on this planet of struggle, it will be a very long time before the humans finally become clever enough to do the right thing.
We know the conditions on the Earth. And indeed, it can be called a battle planet. But what I want to say is, I simply address you as a friend, which, by the way, Jeshuish Ta told me to do, and since I have been talking to you, strange emotions have awakened in me that make me feel as if we have been together for a long time and have known each other for a long time. It would be a great honor for me to include you as a friend in my thoughts and feelings.
If you find me worthy, for my part I do so in relation to your person, and I am very honored, my friend. Strange, it is so easy for me to say this, although my thoughts and feelings are like that, just like with all the others who are not humans of the earth. On the contrary, I often have a lot of trouble with the Earthlings, because it often takes years before I can even address them by their informal German version of you. It really takes a lot for me. The rule is that I use the more formal form of address in the form of the you, which allows a certain foreign distance to be maintained, which in this respect is more far-reaching than is the case with the you in a friendly relationship.
I know from Swish Ta that among the Earth humans, friendship is very often not really friendship, but only a matter of purpose.
That is unfortunately true, because the vast majority of the Earth humans call themselves friends among themselves. But it is really nothing more than a friendship of purpose, based on the fact that benefits are derived from it. If this kind of friendship is no longer useful, then the friendship is simply thrown away and trampled underfoot. As an example, this may help you to understand. Last week I was called twice by one of my old friends who complained to me about his grief that a friendship that he had cultivated for more than 20 years was suddenly declared null and void by his friend. The reason for this was that my friend's wife was hospitalized, so my friend was naturally very depressed and close to despair. That is why his friend's wife tried to calm him down with words of consolation, sitting down with him and taking his hand in hers. A completely normal interpersonal good gesture which, unfortunately, the so-called friend of my friend observed and could not cope with. He threw nasty insults at my friend, instantly scurrilously dissolved the long-standing friendship, and became an enemy, out of sheer jealousy. As long as he was able to profit from the friendship, everything went well. But when my friend was in psychological distress and needed moral support from his longtime friend and his wife, the friendship broke up, and this was due to jealousy, because of the holding of hands.
This is most unfortunate, but your explanation rounds out the picture in me regarding the behavior of the humans of your world, as it was explained to me by Swish Ta. However, our ancestors have already reported these strange things, as is recorded in our annals. Concerning the humans of your world, or rather the Christianity they practiced, our ancestors also had serious conflicts and wars.
I know the story. It must have been very bad. But now, friend Sugam, we should get going. Ta is probably waiting for us. But we have to be quiet and careful when we go out, because Karen, the night watch person, is probably out there somewhere. Just follow me. It is a bit dark here on the trail, but I have the small flashlight here. In its weak light we will not stumble, and Karen will not see us either.
It is really dark, but maybe it is better to use my light here, because it does not shine visibly like your light projector, it only lights up the ground.
Also good, or even better. Well then, it is not far. So here we are. This place we call the front campsite, or biotope. Karen cannot see or hear us here anymore. Come, follow me. There is an arbor up there, the one Ptah spoke of.
You got here faster than I expected.
We have discussed what needed to be discussed. You, Ptah, did you say that you had something to say?
Yes, because I would like to say a few words about the Israel-Lebanon war, because this monstrous thing should be taken up with a few words from me, because what the government and the armed forces of Israel dared to do in Lebanon is truly worse. More Ausgeartet has gotten very badly out of control of the good human natures, and more ruthless than what the Nazis did in the Second World War in terms of murdering the civilian population and destroying vital facilities and transport links and residential buildings, etc. I am not talking about the persecution of Jews by the Nazis and the murder of millions of Jewish believers, but only about the atrocities which had nothing to do with the persecution of Jews and which were caused by the Nazis and Nazi forces. In this respect, The Israeli forces in Lebanon surpass the atrocious machinations of the Nazis, controlled by the rulers and military rulers of Israel, especially by the bloodthirsty war criminal and human rights criminal Olmert, the completely Ausgearteten successor of Sharon, who lags behind the new ruler in his actions. So it is also this night. When the Israeli armed forces carry out an air raid in the southern Lebanese village of Qana, a massacre in which more than 70 innocent civilians are killed, about 40 of them children and mostly women. But the world is watching unmoved and is still in favor of Israel's actions, just as it is on the other side with regard to Hezbollah and Hamas, which are acting in the same terrorist and criminal manner as the Israeli government and Israeli forces. Neither side is better than the other, nor do they know any responsibility in terms of life. Also, the responsible and state powers of the USA, Germany, England, and all other states which support the Israeli machinations are to be placed in the ranks of the war criminals and irresponsible ones, as well as the responsible ones and leaders in Iran and Syria and everywhere else, who support the murderous machinations of Hezbollah, Hamas, and Al-Qaeda, as well as other terrorist organizations, supply them with weapons, or even support the terrorist machinations. There is a real urgent need for responsible human beings on the earth to finally be appointed to governments. All those serious criminals who advocate violence, murder, destruction, war, and other forms of terror are included in this list because they must be stripped of their power, sentenced and sent to prison for life. Responsible for this are the peoples of the individual states. Also in the relationship that a multinational peacekeeping force be created, by which each war zone is nipped in the bud by immediately disarming each party to the dispute completely and no longer allowing them to have, produce, buy, or otherwise obtain weapons of war. Finally, only the multinational peacekeeping force may be allowed to possess weapons of war for the protection of peoples and humanity.
With regard to such a protective force, we have already spoken. In fact, in my opinion, this would be the only solution.
To understand this, however, the majority of the humans on the earth are not yet intelligent enough, besides the fact that there is still a vast barbarism in many humans who are only too happy to kill others, for whatever reason. On the other hand, however, there are also many who are indifferent to everything that goes on in the world concerning murder, evil, felonies, criminality and war, etc., if only it does not concern them and they live high on the hog and have pleasure. All talking and teaching is of no use, for every word and every piece of advice is spoken into the wind, which carries it away and blows it away unheard.
Through all the insights and progress and knowledge that the humans of your world have gained, they should have become more intelligent.
Unfortunately, this is not the case, because nothing serious has been learned from all the tens of thousands of wars that have been fought on the earth in the last few millennia. And all these wars were only fought as a result of revenge campaigns, acts of retaliation, and claims to power, in addition to the fact that the religions were also involved in them again and again. Religious hatred and racial hatred have been decisive factors in the wars, and they still are today. In addition, however, in the present time also the greed for oil and other earth resources are added, because of which wars are launched, as for example is the case with the US-American war machinations in Afghanistan and in Iraq, whereby Christian religious delusion and religious hatred against people of other faiths, as well as the greed for oil and US military bases and economic factors in Arabia shake hands in unison. And all this is done with the lie that the war is being waged in the name of freedom for the peoples concerned, as has been the case for ages. And how the religions and the powers of the state and their believers and followers have for ages created peace on the earth among peoples and states is proven by the last 10,000 years, which are full of acts of war and Ausgearteten warlike atrocities. If during this long time all those days and years are added up during which no acts of war actually took place on earth among all peoples, then one arrives at a miserable 250 years.
A shamefulness without equal.
That is putting it mildly.
One must be ashamed of this fact, to be a human being on the earth.
The righteous need not be involved. And every earth human being who has done something against it and continues to do something against it, whatever it may be, need not be ashamed. This includes all those who cultivate their thoughts and feelings properly, act correctly, and strive to live according to the creational laws. But they are also all those who strive in writing and speaking for the truth and its dissemination. Unfortunately, I know, this is only a small part of the humanity on the earth, but they do their duty as human beings and strive to be real human beings themselves. It is they who sow the seeds that will germinate little by little and bear precious fruit in the further future. At present, it is especially the trusted ones, who have gathered around you as core group and passive group members, as well as worldwide external group of comrades in arms, who are fulfilling your difficult mission as a proclaimer of the modern times and a proclaimer of the truth.
As I know from our own past, our ancestors also had to fight very hard for the truth. Unfortunately, no wise human like you was able to help them in word and deed. Our wise ones were well educated in all kinds of things, but they were ignorant about spiritual matters and the creation and its laws. Our ancestors believed in gods and demons. And when more than 1,200 years ago our ancestors visited the earth as space travelers, they returned with a new monotheistic religion that quickly spread to our three worlds and soon led to severe religious wars between the believers of the old gods and demons and the new believers of the Christian faith. The wars lasted 36 long years before reason triumphed and peace was restored. This was done by abolishing and banning religions. A process that took about 160 years before no one believed in gods and demons anymore, and the doctrine was finally established that the human alone is God and has to bear the responsibility in every respect. Then about 100 years ago the Pleiadian came into contact with us, whose philosophy conformed with ours, but which was much more far-reaching than ours. In this we thus learned a great deal more. Which means that everything with us today is oriented according to the teaching of the truth and spiritual teaching, aka creation energy teaching, as this knowledge was transmitted to us by the Pleiadian. Thus it has also become known to us that you have appeared on the earth as a proclaimer of the modern age and are fulfilling your difficult mission, from which all our peoples also profit, because through the Pleiadian we receive the works of your teaching, according to which we orient ourselves. We also know many writings of your loyal ones, which are also very helpful to us. Everything is an immeasurable gift to us Bardan, for which I, on behalf of all our peoples on all three worlds, should express the deepest thanks to you and your loyal ones.
What can I say? I am just flabbergasted. That is indeed news.
With these, it should be enough for today. If you do not have any questions, we would like to say goodbye now.
I do have one more question. Shugam invited me to stay with him and his family. Is there any chance that you, Florina, Anjana, Quetzal, or any of you can bring me to Bardan? If I can be in private for 2 or 3 hours, well, yes.
That will certainly be possible, so I will make an effort. Who will take you there? Time will tell.
Thank you, my friend.
Then let us go. Goodbye, Edward, dear friend.
Goodbye and Salome.
Then I also say goodbye. It was an extraordinary pleasure and honor to meet you. May you live long.
Thank you. It was also a very great joy and honor for me. Then I will see you soon.